What's up, family? I'm determined black man, John Jay, and as usual, I'm determined to reach at least one someone that's out there listening to the sounds of my voice, if not each and every one of you all. Hey, just a simple little reminder for you all that aren't subscribed to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, if you will. And please share this message. Please share this video. Please share this video. I'm saying it now because a lot of time I get caught up into the hype of the message and I forget to say it always, I don't say it to the very end. And a lot of you are not viewing the videos to the very end, or you might become displaced or have something else going on where you lose focus or you have to pause it. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell y'all because it's important and it's imperative that we spread these messages, because it is very important for us not only to be currently aware of what's going on around us, but it's also good just to know how these things can affect us and how they actually line up with, if you're a spiritual person, which many of us are, then it's good to see how these things are lining up with biblical texts or the ancient apocryphals. It is amazing to me just how parallel these things are running. The 10 plagues that were mentioned in the apocryphal, the books of Abraham, it's a book called 2nd Esdras, and chapter 15. It mentions 10 plagues, and currently, and these plagues would all take place at the same time. So when you hear these plagues, many people say, well, this could be from any scattered time throughout history. But that's not the case, because it also says that these things would take place simultaneously. And starting with one, the first plague, stress from the violence and the upheavals. And if you look around now, I mean, violence is just at an all-time high. Old people, young people, everybody, girls, boys, men, women, everybody's so violent.
Since the January 6th attack on the Capitol are showing signs of becoming more active once again. The militia movement grew in 2020 following a string of unprecedented events.
Stay at home, that is the order tonight as the coronavirus pandemic spreads.
The country braces itself for another wave of protests over the death of George Floyd.
Donald Trump has not conceded this election.
It culminated in January 6th, but this would stall the militia movement after key leaders were jailed.
Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes given 18 years in prison.
Now, there are signs that militias are regrouping online, fueled by swathes of disinformation, and it is feared that the result of the 2024 election could re-energize the movement once again. Militia groups have a reputation for controversy and turning to violence. Members are often seen unlawfully policing demonstrations while heavily armed.
We are the law of the land.
Unlawful militia is a group of individuals who, without any federal or state authority, form an organization that engages in paramilitary activity, paramilitary training.
As I practice and train, they really prioritize firearms and Second Amendment rights.
Take the Boogaloo Boys, highly suspicious of the authorities and the media. They say they're not supremacists, just fighting government tyranny.
These groups all have some level of conspiracy theorizing, so they tend to believe things like there is an invasion of migrants coming over that is akin to like a war.
Yalto! U.S. Border Patrol, what are you guys doing?
In 2019, a militia group called the United Constitutional Patriots began unlawfully arresting migrants on the New Mexico border.
The only problem is if we shoot on the hill, it'll be an international crisis. We're too close to the border. Would save some time though, wouldn't it?
Most unlawful militias have had an anti-government ideology, but at various times it takes on whatever the cultural issue is of the day, and particularly any cultural issue that Donald Trump is embracing.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
As early as his inauguration, Trump's promise to put America first resonated with the militia movement.
It's really impossible to overstate the role that Donald Trump has played, not just in the militia movement, but in some other far-right groups more generally.
He had a number of sort of whistles toward these groups.
The action I'm taking today will eliminate federal overreach. They'll take away your Second Amendment, which we will never allow to happen. Migrants are marching toward our southern border. Some people call it an invasion.
Many militias and other members of the anti-government movement really supported Trump because they felt that they were aligned in their ideologies.
And it showed. The number of new militia groups grew in the first year of Trump's presidency. One of the clearest examples of Trump activating these groups was during a presidential debate with Joe Biden.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by.
Again, stand by means until I might call you, until I might need you. And of course, the Proud Boys immediately monetized that. T-shirts, paraphernalia, etc.
That also sought to empower militias, not only to feel that Trump was potentially on their side, but also that if you did something like storm the Capitol, that wasn't something that he was going to denounce you for.
But has the link between right-wing militia groups and Donald Trump been exaggerated?
The right-wing militia subject is basically an inflated talking point here in the United States, and ultimately, Donald Trump has no control over what they do. Antifa, and the anarchists that were working with them are dramatically more destructive and violent than any quote-unquote right-wing militias. You look at what happened in Portland, you look at what happened in Washington, D.C., you look what happened in Minneapolis. And that threat is dramatically, more worrisome, in my opinion.
Whether or not Trump provided the fuel, events in 2020 would provide the match to ignite the militia movement to new levels.
Americans are marching through the streets in their thousands, demanding the lockdown be lifted, and the president is in their corner.
New York's iconic streets were littered with the debris of rage over the death of George Floyd.
The president has repeatedly made claims of widespread voter fraud without any evidence. The campaign is also asking supporters to take to the streets in protest.
During the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, a Michigan militia group wanted to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer and put her on trial.
Those 13 suspects taken into custody, 7 of them alleged members of that right-wing militia group, over restrictions aimed to stop the spread of COVID.
Militia groups tend to believe there either is tyranny in the government or there's going to be tyranny in the government, and that's what they need to fight against. Being, asked to wear a mask, for instance, that was tyranny.
The death of George Floyd and the subsequent Black Lives Matter protests were seen as a provocation by militia groups.
A lot of people started to believe that those protests weren't really Black Lives Matter, and instead were somehow being orchestrated by Antifa, or maybe even Russia. In their view, it became a sign of anarchy that could creep into their own neighborhoods, and something they therefore needed to stop.
After Joe Biden won the 2020 presidential election, Donald Trump refused to concede.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win.
Then eventually, when they...
That's the first plague. Everybody want their weapons. Everybody want to hurt somebody. Everybody want to do something to somebody. And I'm not saying don't be prepared, because you should be prepared to protect yourself. You should be prepared to protect your family. But don't go out here committing crimes of violence towards people just because you haven't prepared yourself for what's to come. And so you feel like it's easier for you just to rob somebody or set somebody up to get what you want, opposed to you actually being prepared and going out here and getting things for yourself, working for it, creating you a garden, start you a garden so that you'll be able to feed you and your family without having to steal from somebody else's family. Number 2, the number 2 plague, it was said that cities would burn. Cities would burn, fiery burning of cities. Plague, and any of you all that haven't been on a rock for the last week, you've seen the West Coast, LA County on fire, looking like something out of a apocalypse movie. Very scary. But being that I've studied these things and I know that this is only the fulfillment of prophecy, then it's almost easy for me to stomach. It's almost easy for me to regurgitate, because and I know in a normal sense this sounds crazy, but when you are on this spiritual journey that I'm on, then there are no surprises. Wickedness is operating on many different levels, and so there's a lot of wicked things going on. And with that being said, God is not pleased. And so this is why he said it was prophesied that these plagues would be cast upon us. And at the same damn time, as they say. And right now, every last one of these things seem to be taking place, in my opinion. So number 3, the third plague, is the destruction of cattle by pestilence. Animals right now under distress. The disease called bird flu. We're gonna call it bee flu, just for to be technical and to protect the channel from the algorithms. Right now, there has been mass callbacks on chickens and eggs, actually causing the demand to skyrocket, and the prices as well.
Livestock and unsanitary packaging practices have led to some of the most notorious meat recalls ever recorded in the U.S. In July 2024, Boar's Head recalled 7.2 million pounds of deli meats after a Listeria monocytogenes outbreak. The Maryland Department of Health discovered Listeria in a liverwurst sample, prompting a recall of 207,528 pounds produced in Virginia between June 11th and July 17th. As the outbreak spread, the recall expanded to include 71 products made after May 10th. By September, the Listeria outbreak had sickened 59 people across 19 states. The recall targeted products potentially affected by contamination, aiming to prevent further illnesses.
So really understanding the health implications here is so important.
All individuals who became ill were hospitalized, and 10 tragically died. In 2008, the largest meat recall in U.S. history occurred when Hallmark Westland pulled 143 million pounds of ground beef from the market. Although no illnesses or deaths were reported, the situation gained significant attention. This recall was prompted by a January 30th expose from the Humane Society, which showed footage of severely ill cows enduring inhumane treatment at the plant, with some unable to stand.
They're called downer cows, cattle too sick to walk.
Due to concerns over mad cow disease, regulations mandated that federal veterinarians should have assessed the safety of the cattle for human consumption. Unfortunately, this procedure was overlooked. Although much of the recalled meat had likely already been consumed, officials deemed it necessary to issue a warning for public safety. On February 17, 2008, the recall encompassed all beef products produced by the company over the previous 2 years, as some consumers might still have these items in their freezers. Despite the extensive time frame, the recall was classified as Class 2, indicating a lower risk of illness for consumers. Following the incident, 2 employees were terminated and faced felony and misdemeanor charges for animal cruelty. Ultimately, the Chino, California company went bankrupt as a result of the scandal. The first significant meat recall on our list occurred between July and August 1997, when Hudson Foods issued a massive recall of 25 million pounds of ground beef distributed to various stores and restaurants. Initially, the recall started small, encompassing just 20,000 pounds, but rapidly expanded to 1.2 million pounds, and eventually reached a staggering 25 million pounds, as the Columbus, Nebraska facility acknowledged that more products could be tainted with E. coli than initially suspected. Similar to the Tops meat incident, Hudson Foods' contamination stemmed from the practice of carrying over meat from one production day to the next, which allowed E. coli to infiltrate multiple batches. Between June 14th and July 14th, 1997, 15 individuals who consumed the contaminated beef fell ill, resulting in 5 hospitalizations. For their cattle, the facility failed to separate healthy cows from diseased ones. The recall covered nearly a year's worth of beef, from January 1st, 2013 to January 7, 2014. A whistleblower revealed that the facility was secretly slaughtering diseased and potentially cancerous cattle after hours, bypassing USDA inspections. The USDA raided the plant, uncovering the illegal activity. Several employees, including the owner, were sentenced to prison for their involvement. Following the scandal, the facility shut down and was sold to another company. Fortunately, no illnesses were reported from the contaminated meat. The Tops meat recall, initiated on September 25, 2007, involved a staggering 331,582 pounds of frozen hamburger patties along with 21 other beef products. The production facility, located in Elizabeth, New Jersey, was linked to a widespread E. coli contamination that resulted in illnesses across New Jersey and 7 additional states, including New York and Florida. By September 29th, the recall expanded dramatically to encompass 21.7 million pounds of products distributed to grocery stores and institutions nationwide. The escalation of the recall was largely due to the company's inadequate process controls, which failed to guarantee the safety of its meat. Additionally, Tops frequently stored meat from one day to the next, complicating efforts to trace and halt the spread of contamination. Between July 5th and September 24th, 2007, the outbreak led to 40 reported illnesses, with at least 21 individuals hospitalized, though thankfully no fatalities occurred. Ultimately, this incident proved devastating for the 67-year-old company, leading to its permanent closure shortly after the recall.
Because the supply has been chopped almost in half due to this this very nasty disease that's not only subjective to just birds, but it also can be contaminated. It can also contaminate cattle and other farm animals as well. And so that's my take on the cattle being destroyed by pestilence. Number 4, it was said the 4th plague would be famine, and it will be famine in our native land. So here in America, in the United States, we're used to having what we want. You know what I'm saying? We can go and eat whatever we want if you got the money.
As prices continue to rise on everything from gas to groceries, experts warn food is going to be harder to come by in the months ahead, including here in America. There are those who say the church can lead the way in helping people through the tough times. Globally, more than 276 million people experience extreme food insecurity, pushing closer and closer to famine.
Places like Somalia, for example, 90% of their wheat exports come from Russia and Ukraine. Wow. In Egypt, 80%. And so it's real.
In the U.S., over 13.8 million people already suffer from food insecurity. Right now, about 65% of the 200 food banks in the Feeding America network are seeing a greater demand for food assistance. Heather Taylor of Bread for the World says the problem is likely to affect already vulnerable populations even more.
Here in the United States, about 13 million children presently are experiencing hunger. And as food prices go up, as you've stated, as inflation continues to increase, gas prices, it all has a compound effect.
Pastor Joshua Giles of Kingdom Embassy Church in Minneapolis has been warning of a coming food shortage for several years. He writes about it in his book, Prophetic Forecast, Insights for Navigating the Future to Align with Heaven's Agenda.
When we crossed over from 2019 into 2020, the Holy Spirit spoke to me about a decade of shortages. And in a vision, I walked into a store in this vision in my time of prayer, and the shelves were completely empty.
He points to the biblical story of Joseph as an example of how the church should respond to the crisis while preparing to help others.
I do believe that we can start to purchase certain things and store them up. I'm not encouraging people to panic buy at all. But what I'm saying is just use the wisdom of God. When we read about Joseph in Scripture, he endured one of the greatest famines in history. And the Lord gave him strategies and insight on how to navigate that famine.
John LeBlanc of Cedarville University offered advice on practical ways to prepare.
They need to stock up on foods that are not going to spoil, canned goods and packaged goods and so on and so forth. And anything they can to put in the freezer.
If power goes out, he suggests investing in a generator and extra gasoline. Giles says spiritual preparation is also vital.
Famine is already taking place. Many people starving. And I'm only certain that it would get worse as we see these so-called natural disasters take place, forcing people from their natural habitats and having to move and seek refuge other places, which will cause the demands for food in those areas to go up rapidly, which will probably cause more civil unrest. So be prepared for whatever, y'all. I say that with a straight face. Be prepared for whatever, because a hungry man will do anything, I'm telling you, to feed his face. So it ain't a joke. Also, number 5 would be the destruction of domains where you live due to earthquakes. I'm from Mississippi. As I stated on the last video, we recently had a earthquake that was I think maybe a 2.9 or 3.0 or something like that, but basically unheard of in the state of Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? We don't have earthquakes like that, and so it was very eye-opening to see that. And I mean, I know there's other places that have been experiencing this as well, which I know that different fault lines have changed. But I mean, okay, the fault lines changed, and so that would cause a domino effect. You know what I'm saying? And it would actually still line up with the biblical text and the prophecies. So also increase of hail and snow. I don't know if you're paying attention, but the East Coast right now, people are scrimmaging and scrambling for heat sources and propane and natural gas because it's freezing out there. They're experiencing some of the most coldest, destructive weather that they've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? We talking about the East Coast where it snow all the time, but you talking about people can't find refuge.
Blizzard conditions blanketed roadways in Kansas and northwestern Missouri. Interstate 70 was closed throughout Kansas on Sunday due to treacherous conditions, while Missouri troopers responded to early 600 stranded motorists and 285 crashes. Now the storm is hitting the East Coast in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore are under a winter storm warning with up to 12 inches of snow expected. If D.C. surpasses 8.3 inches, it will mark the city's largest snowfall since 2016. Philadelphia could see 2 to 4 inches, making roads slick and hazardous. Schools across major cities, including Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Philadelphia and Washington, have preemptively closed. The storm has also caused significant travel chaos. Over 1,300 flights have been cancelled nationwide, with Kansas City and St. Louis among the hardest hit. Further south, the storm's back end has in fact brought severe thunderstorms to Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi and Alabama, with the potential for tornadoes. Meanwhile, freezing rain and sleet in northern Kentucky and southern West Virginia are creating hazardous ice accumulations. Governors in Kansas, Kentucky, Arkansas, West Virginia and Virginia have declared states of emergency. As the storm moves offshore, Monday night bone-chilling Arctic air is set to sweep in behind it. Daytime temperatures from the Great Plains to the East Coast are expected to plummet 10 to 20 degrees below average on Tuesday as well.
There's a high demand right now for butane and natural gas and propane, and people not even able to get it. So people will be dying and suffering from something that normally you'd be able to just go right down the street and get. But now it's becoming scarce already. And this is just the beginning, y'all. So that's number 6. Number 7, wild beasts. Wild beasts. A lot of people will be destroyed by wild beasts. I can't name any in particular, but I can say that if I really wanted to break it down, a lot of these, I think a lot of diseases are passed from animal to animal. And also a lot of our farmlands are destroyed due to wild beasts like wild boar. And so possibly the boar could taint the normal feeding grounds and places where animals would feed, which would cause them to actually contract diseases that they would normally have. And so they could be a part of why their prophecy said it like it said. Or maybe there will become some animal that just goes crazy and just want to start attacking people. I haven't heard of any reports just yet, but I'm sure if I do enough digging, then I will. But that's number 7. Number 8 is famine and pestilence. It will take turns in destruction, like simultaneously. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, famine is on the rise. If you look at the government right now, the government is playing a part in creating famine, because our government is not only allowing foreign entities to come into our country and buy land that would normally be farmland, which forces the prices of farmland up for the normal farmers, because these countries come in here paying 200% more than what they would normally pay, but it also increases taxes. So therefore, these farmers, normal farmers, can't afford to buy the land that will help expand their farms, which keep them, farming. And so ultimately, that's going to create famine. Not only that, with we having the president-elect coming in saying that he was going to ship everybody back to their original countries or whatever and whatnot. These illegal immigrants, so to speak. Then many of you already know those are the people that at this time, those are the people that actually farm these lands. Not only that, if you look at a lot of our fruits and vegetables, they come from California and the West Coast. And as you know, California has been on fire. And so a lot of our farmland has been destroyed, which all this together creates a higher demand, which causes the supply chain to bottleneck. And now you have more people seeking things than there are able to be provided, which will ultimately cause famine and become very destructive. Because as I said, when people are hungry, they tend not to think with their head. They think with their stomach, and a hungry man would do anything to feed his hungry stomach. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, we see a lot of diseases with the farm animals, but also in the plants, in the vegetation. That would be punishment by sword. This is number 9, punishment by sword, and fighting and distress. So when I look at the sword, I just look at weaponry. And if you look around, you see all type of stuff going on, where we have We have domesticated terrorists taking shots at the former president. We have sightings of drones. People getting unalive just for all different types of reasons. People just walking up, blowing people's heads off and going in people's homes. All type of stuff dealing with the sword, so to speak. He lived by the sword, he died by the sword. Well, in this case, it's a plague of people that will be carrying out Satan's divisive plans to destroy man. And so that don't mean that the good people or the righteous will be spared. So that's why I tell you all, and I tell you with everything that's in me, every fiber of my body, be prepared for whatever. Also, thunder, number 10, thunders and voices and ravaging of earthquakes. I just told you that before, you know what I'm saying? It's funny, but we recently had an earthquake that was unbelievable for the state of Mississippi, you know. Maybe we've had tremors throughout the years, but to actually have one that faulted, it has raised a lot of eyebrows. For any of you all that study this stuff, then yeah, it has raised a lot of eyebrows. And you see a lot of voices right now, a lot of people that are speaking things that don't mean us well. I think that Elon Musk is very detrimental to mankind at this point. And it's sitting in the seat that he's sitting in right now, it almost seems that there's nothing that we can do about it. And him having the hand that he has, being the richest man in the world, worth over $400 billion, who can shut him up? He bought a whole media company, even though he knew he was going to lose buying it. He lost over half of it, evaluated for less than half of its value that what he paid for it in less than 2 months of him buying it. And that was a part of his plan.
Elon Musk will help lead a new agency known as the Department of Government Efficiency. The New York Times has new reporting on the billionaire's influence on the Trump transition, calling him Uncle Elon, as some Trump family members have now been known to do. A new article says, in part, quote, the world's richest person has ascended to a position of extraordinary unofficial influence in Mr. Trump's transition process, playing a role that makes him indisputably America's most powerful private citizen. Theodore Schleifer joins us now. He is a campaign finance reporter for the New York Times, the author of that article. Teddy, thank you so much for being here. Walk us through the timeline of how Musk went from a sometime critic of Donald Trump to someone who is now firmly ensconced in his inner circle.
Yeah, it all happened rather quickly. I mean, even in the calendar year 2024, we're really talking about here. Elon Musk and Donald Trump basically had no existing significant relationship before a couple months ago. Unlike someone like Howard Lutnick or Linda McMahon, who are the Transition Committee co-chairs who have known Trump for decades, Elon didn't really spend any time with him in person until actually what you're seeing right now on the screen, where he's jumping up on the stage at the Butler rally. Elon Musk wanted Ron DeSantis to be the Republican nominee, but beginning around this spring, he and advisors started meeting to plot a super PAC that became called America PAC, which Elon Musk would put upwards of $200 million into it. And now he's by Trump's side at Mar-a-Lago every day.
Pretty good return on investment. There was one section of your article that really stood out to me. I want to read it. You said, quote, Mr. Musk has assumed an almost mythical aura in Mr. Trump's inner circle. At Mar-a-Lago one recent evening, he walked into the dining room about 30 minutes after the president-elect did and received a similar standing ovation, according to two people who saw him enter. And as soon as I read that, I thought, President-elect Trump doesn't usually like it when the people who are surrounding him get as much attention, as much admiration as he does. Could that end up being a problem for Musk?
It could. Look, Elon Musk is not currently in a official role. He's been appointed to lead this government efficiency commission, but it's not really clear what exactly that's going to look like structurally. So could Elon be fired? Kinda. He could just fall out of grace and be no longer inside the inner circle. But a lot of the reason why Elon has influence with Trump is not because he, is appointed by Trump to be Secretary of Transportation or whatnot. It's because Elon Musk has money and controls Twitter, and he has a lot of influence that is going to make him a player in the Trump inner circle, almost regardless of whether Trump wants him there.
Trump is known to enjoy the company of his fellow billionaires, so perhaps it's no surprise that he has struck up this friendship with Elon Musk. But now Musk is sitting in on calls with foreign leaders, including Ukrainian President Zelensky. We know that he is someone who has government contracts, not only with the U.S. government, but foreign governments as well. Talk about the possible entanglements here and the kind of impact he could have on foreign affairs.
Sure. Well, look, it's not. He'd not be the first billionaire to work in government who had conflicts of interest, right? Most of these people do have conflicts of interest because they are enormously successful, which means they have lots of business interests around the globe, and that means that they have conflicts. I think what's different with Elon is what I was getting at a moment ago, where his role is going to be probably less regulated than kind of a Goldman Sachs CEO who resigns to become Secretary of the Treasury. Right there's tons of congressional oversight. There's tons of personal disclosure forms. Elon's conflicts, especially during this transition period before he's even assumed a role at all, we're still learning about them, right? And look, I mean, conflicts are part of working in government. Conflicts can be managed, as they say. But with Musk, just given the wealth he has, with 250, almost $300 billion, given the fact that he is, the head of not just one public company, but multiple private companies, the conflicts are going to require some lawyers full-time job.
It's going to be a fascinating relationship to watch as it evolves. Theodore Schleifer, thanks so much for being here.
You bet.
But it didn't bother him. Because what is $40 billion? A man worth $400 billion. You know what I'm saying? So, not to pump fear into you all, but these are prophecies, just like I told you before. And some people will say that I'm trying to create fear or I'm fear mongering, but that's not the case. All I'm doing is trying to encourage you all to be prepared for whatever, because the signs are already there. Everything is pointing towards we're living in the last times. We're living in the last times. I'm not going to say the final days, because it could be 30 years from now. But in these final times, things are going to become increasingly more hard and hard to survive and very trying. And, you're going to see greater forms of pervertism. You're going to see people even touching children and things like that. And it's already happening. You see it every day. You know what I'm saying? You see it every day. And I ain't just even talking about these celebrities that's been accused of it, because a lot of times this always been used to destroy our character. So I don't even know a lot of times if these guys are doing the stuff that they say they're doing, or are they using this because that's something that has to ride with you forever. You catch a pedophile charge, you got to register as an offender, and that's forever. So, what better could I do to destroy you than to place a tag on you, a forever tag on you, other than to just kill you? But I mean, you walking dead. So if you've been tagged like that. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I hope that y'all like what I'm speaking about. So if you do, hit the like button. If you ain't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And please, I beg you, I urge you, share these messages, because a lot of people don't know these things. A lot of people don't know these things. And like I tell y'all many times, a lot of information has been removed from the book, the canonized version of the book that we call the Bible. I mean, from my studies, over 75 books. So it's a reason why somebody kept all that out of there, because somebody didn't want a particular group of people to know who they are and where they stand and what we need to do to prepare ourselves for what's to come. So in order to prepare yourself, you must be informed. You must know your enemy. You must know what we're facing. So that's what I feel like is one of my callings. I do these deep dives for my people. I have children, and I love the children, all of our children. But I know that at this time we have been distracted by many things. And it's not just because we just so careless, but it's a construct. It's a systematic thing that has been put in place to make us feel like entertainers and celebrities are more important than our day-to-day people. When at the end of the day, we're all just people. But it's created that way so that you can take your eyes off of what you really need to be focused on and be 52 faked out to look left when you need to be looking right, and looking right when you need to be looking left. And so that's for somebody else's plan to move forward. So, I'm always encourage you all to pray and continue to do your fasting, your breathing techniques, meditation, turn your radio off, turn the television off, go outside, sit in the sun, and meditate, talk to Yah, get closer, Ask him for a spirit of discernment so that you can start seeing things for yourself. Study these books. Study the scriptures. The Bible is with the canonized version as well as the other versions. You know what I'm saying? You can use your own discernment and understanding to get a greater understanding. But don't be afraid to dig beyond what you used to, because there's a reason why they gave that to you, opposed to the original version. And yes, it's a version. It say that on the front of the front cover. All right, there you have it. So if y'all enjoyed this message, please hit the like button. Even if you didn't enjoy it, hit the like button. You stuck around this long for a reason. Hit the like button. If you ain't already subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel if you hadn't done so. And do me a favor, hop in that comment section and let me know how y'all feel about this message. And let me know if there's anything y'all want to hear going forward. If it's any information that you'd like for me to dive into, just let me know. I love the comment section, so y'all please use it. Feel free. It's like the VIP section. Also, I beg you, I urge you, please, please, please share this message. Please share this message. Please share this message with a friend, with a family member, even an enemy. Get it out there, y'all. We got to get this word out there. It's a lot of misinformation going forward. We need to get the truth out there. So y'all please help me and share this message. And until the next time, I'm the Eternal Black Man, John J. Y'all stay up, stay humble, and stay good people. I'm out. 1.